I watched the 2025 Dracula Love Tale movie that recently came out in the United States of America, North America, in 2026. So it was a French film that was originally produced in France. Um, 2025, come 2026, it comes up to theaters. It came out a couple days ago, I think like 2 days ago, but I couldn't watch it because the only showing was at 7 p.m. and then I had to take the bus, and I was like, I don't fucking do that because it's a 2 hour long movie. The movie itself was really well made. Okay, you guys know Frankenstein from 2025. If you've seen that movie, imagine Frankenstein had a messy cousin who was always getting into relationships and decided to use the pull-out method, but he was so romantic and you can tell the movie's French and how raunchy and wow, romantic it is. The costume design was really good, and this was a reimagined version of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which because I read the book, I didn't finish it. So when I saw the movie, it didn't follow the same rules as the book. While other movies do try to adapt to book as closely as possible, this one took liberties. This one took creative interest, and you know what? It pulled off. Dracula was a fucking diva. When I saw this bitch for the first time ever in his old ass form, I was like, he does that throughout the movie, right? He's like, he does that throughout the movie. His hair, fucking up. Diva in a fucking robe. He got the nails. He got the rings. The soundtrack and the costume design was really good. There were some deliberate parts within the movie where you could tell that they put effort in. It was raunchy. It was sexy. It was raw. It was raw and it was intense and it was romantic, but it still had comedy in it. It's like a fucking, I don't know. It's like Bram Stoker had a baby with Mary Shelley, and that's kind. I guess that kind of makes sense because Mary Shelley was a very like rebellious, rambunctious. Is that the fucking word? Very rebellious, shock factor woman. And that's why she created Frankenstein, and she was like educated and shit. I really like ice cream. So the thing, fuck. Is this still recording? Anyway, I'm done with my ice cream. But something I really enjoyed about this movie was the raw aspects of it. Dracula, from what I researched and read, vampires are supposed to be a symbolism for the higher class who kind of suck the life out of like the working class. They're greedy, they're fucking nasty, they're monsters and shit, blah 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 blah. But they humanize Dracula in this movie because sure, he's a prince and he's a king and he has all the riches and he has servants and he has his beautiful wife and blah 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 blah, but he is still under the mercy of God, and this movie focuses a lot on the religious layers of it. Within the first movie we see that it's during a medieval period or a really like very 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 distant period. You can see throughout the movie the different time lapses that happen, and within all of it it's still the same thing: God, 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 Jesus, all of this. And the reason that this is a spoiler, by the way, for the movie, but it's in the beginning anyway. So, Dracula's fucking wife gets murdered in a war that they have against the Muslims, and there's very racist undertones of it. But even Dracula, when he's still the prince, when he's still human, he says, "Is this war really necessary?" And it's really important for people to realize that Christian nationalism and Christianity and Catholicism has a really bad history, specifically the churches and the people and the worshippers on low-key colonizing other cultures. And they reference that. You can tell that Dracula himself just has this huge sense of love and pure humanity to him. And so when his wife dies, he goes to the church and he tells the Pope, he's like, hey, please let my wife survive. I cannot live without her. His wife dies, he goes back and he's like, what the fuck, dude? You were supposed to tell God to save my wife. And then the guy's like, God does things that are unplanned. Obviously Dracula's fucking mad. He's like, fuck you, bitch, and he kills the dude in front of everything, and the Jesus statue starts like crying, which is a reference to when something very blasphemous happens. And so then God curses him with this immortal life as he waits for the reincarnation of his wife, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting, and he watches the plague, and he just loses himself. And throughout the movie, even though it has its comedy moments, it also shows you these very uncomfortable moments of Dracula losing his humanity. The longer he lives, the darker his hair becomes, the more pale his skin. It's fucking crazy. And it gets to the point where he's just crying. He's like sobbing. He's like fucking, I don't know, he's fucking losing his shit, dude. Obviously, he's mentally unstable. Um, and they do take, first of all, they not only focus on the religious layers and how the church and war and all of these things throughout history has affected not only the poor people but also the people in high status, because at the end of the day they must worship the Lord. It doesn't matter if you were born into the richest family in the world. If the Lord is the only religion that you're allowed to follow, then obviously you have to do the Lord's will. That's what you've been taught. And it was a very interesting moment because they are later called like creatures of the night or the devil's creatures or blah 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 blah. Um oh, I paused it by accident. Oh, but yeah, it's like these very interesting layers, and the thing that is also really interesting is the culture that's put into it. So throughout the story, Dracula talks about how he has traveled the world to meet his love again. He's like done everything to meet her. He's gone to multiple different countries, and you can see how he intakes that culture in his fashion, in his style, in the food he makes, in the paintings, even in the artifacts. Um, and in this adaptation of the Dracula thing going on, he doesn't have he has women servants, but he treats them more like daughters, if anything. And the lust is very prominent within these creatures because lust is one of the bases that vampires were created off. I don't know. It was a French film, so obviously it's foreign, and it was really interesting to see that because I didn't know it was a foreign film, and the accents were so very, very heavy throughout the movie. I was watching it in subtitles, and I was still struggling a little bit to even understand what they were saying. But honestly think it's such a good watch. Like, it has its comedy sides, but it also doesn't shy away from the rawness and uncomfortableness and the inconvenience of being human, despite the fact that our main character is not fucking human. This motherfucker's cray cray. Cray cray. Um, and by the end of the movie, there comes this acceptance of like the Lord, but it's not like shoving it down your fucking throat. It's not like believe in God, believe in God, believe in God. If you guys have seen the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just like, Jesus, heaven. America has a really bad habit of whenever it implements Christianity or Catholicism or any religious thing into a movie, that it's forcing it down your throat is sort of like this, what's the word, sort of like this propaganda. I would say one of the best examples that does not do this is probably The Exorcist. The Exorcist uses Christianity and Catholicism as a plot device instead of something that the plot is based around completely as a full truth, which might make sense in the world building, but not in the sense of like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to fucking explain it. Uh, and it's in a very poetic way, a very poetic death. And by the end of the movie, it's kind of left in a cliffhanger, but we do get this beautiful moment that just gives us a little bit of closure where Elizabeth looks at, dust and the flowers and everything going on. Um, and yeah, I give the movie 7.5 out of 10. It has 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, but as an American viewer, I liked it. Wait, hold on, I liked it. Yeah.